Hey folks, today's episode is sponsored by Squarespace, the best way for you to create a beautiful website and build your online presence. And now you get design intelligence from Squarespace, combining all the platform tools that make Squarespace great with cutting-edge AI technology to unlock your strongest creative potential. Anyone can build a beautiful, more personalized website tailored to their unique needs. Go to squarespace.com/WTF for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code WTF to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/WTF, offer code WTF.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you? What's happening? I'm Marc Maron. This is my podcast. Welcome to it. How are you feeling? It's not a great feeling, whatever this feeling is today in relation to tomorrow. Look, I voted for Kamala in the primaries in 2020. I've been a big fan for a long time. And I like her. I like what she represents. I like the impact she could have and does have on the culture of this country and the way she represents this country. So obviously, I'm going to vote for her. Now, I don't know what your family looks like or what you're doing or who you are, but just go vote. And don't be swayed or frightened by, these pseudo-libertarian, nihilistic chaos junkies or these neo-Nazi for these burn it all down lefties. Just, think about the quality of life that you want to have and that you want your family to have. And I do think, and I heard someone else talking about it, it's not a bad time to, today, if there's still people in your world that, have not voted. I don't know how they could still be on the fence, but I mean, it is a good time to make a case for sanity and for, a future in this country that is tolerant and embracing of others. It's still possible. I don't know how anyone justifies or rationalizes putting a criminal, mentally ill person in office who is a complete narcissistic chaos junkie. I mean, it's just insanity. It's going to be insane anyways. I'm sure this thing is not going to be figured out for days, weeks, who knows? And whatever it's looking like, that's going to cause insanity. But I can guarantee you, if Trump gets in office again, the chaos and the damage that is going to happen in weeks is going to be irretractable. Whatever he's planning and his minions and his apparatchiks and his stooges and his grifting colleagues, it's just going to wreak havoc on the system. It's going to bust it. It's going to make life in this country insane and unbearable for millions of people. If he tries to initiate, massive deportations in the first week, just the chaos and pain it's going to cause. For what? I mean, do you have people in your family or do you know people that thrive on that? I mean, I don't know how we've gotten so disconnected from a basic sort of compassion or sympathy for people we don't know and people that are struggling. It's just, it's mind-blowing. I think that people have voluntarily disrupted their ability to have a conscience, to have empathy, to see other people as people. A lot of it has to do with the steady stream of garbage and propaganda they dump into their brains on a daily basis. Because I would imagine most people, if you're just driving down the street or you're just living your life or you're walking to the store or whatever you're doing, if it's quiet and you've got the equipment turned off, what does your life really look like? What are you reacting to? Just stuff that's being dumped into your head from your phone. But look, I'm not talking. Look, I know that most of my people here, I'm preaching to the choir to a certain degree. But just know, and if you need to make it more known or take a shot at it, I know a lot of people have written off people in their family already and that they're lost. And look, I've seen narcissists unravel before. And really what's usually at the core of it, when a narcissist is losing his grip on his ability to see himself as all important, when that comes unraveled, What's at the core of a narcissist is something very young, very damaged, and usually all it can say is, and I cannot understand what kind of damage people come from to sort of justify or rationalize, voting for really a monster. I mean, the funniest thing that happened at that rally in Madison Square Garden, the funniest thing was not, Tony Hinchcliffe bombing or whatever comedy he was doing. The funniest thing in that rally, a speaker called Kamala Harris the Antichrist. Seriously said she's the Antichrist. That's hilarious. That's like Trump calling Democrats fascists. I've said this before, and I don't believe it, but I'm a fan of a good fairy tale or of a good story, but we have never seen a politician that more closely resembles the Antichrist than this guy. Yeah, I know, you think he's funny, you think he's, kind of a kind of belligerent, that, just speaks his mind. But I'm telling you, as a prince of chaos, this guy is going to wreak so much havoc on the country and people's lives when they're, just scrambling to deport hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people. They're firing all the federal government employees who operate on a nonpartisan level. They're just going to have to scramble to find enough stooges and acolytes to fill these jobs with no experience of anything. The cabinet that he's thinking about are just a bunch of whack jobs, grifters. It's just it's a joke. The joke is on us. It's a cosmic joke. The kind of language that they're using in terms of who the libs are, who the Democrats are, who the woke people are, they're using the language of annihilation. And I know that there's so much going on to fill your brain with just on a day-to-day basis that it doesn't seem real or that they would never do that. But I mean, I think it's important to understand that they have done that in other places, in other periods of history, over and over and over again. Just slaughtered people who didn't agree with them, and the ones that saw the slaughter who didn't agree with them learned to shut up. I mean, that's really how fascism or authoritarianism works. You can't kill everybody because you need somebody to run the place. So you kill a few as an example. Just the possibilities are horrendous. And we can no longer say it can't happen here because we're on the precipice of something truly awful or truly relieving, and at least with the possibility of maintaining a way of life that is relatively democratic and at least tolerant of all people. But I do think that you should encourage people to vote for Kamala Harris, by all means. And if they're on the fence or they're going to not vote or going to throw away their vote as a protest vote, no one gives about your protest. Try to save the country, will you? Today on this show, I'm going to talk to Mo Mandel. He's a comic. I've known him for a few years. I've always thought he was kind of a character. And I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, why don't I talk to that guy? He was a regular on Chelsea Lately and the creator of the show Comedy Knockout on True TV. He's got a new special on YouTube called Mo Mandel, Trying to Make It. So that's going to happen. I'll be back on tour starting in January. I don't know what the world will look like or what the nature of that tour will be, depending on, whether it's going to be a terrifying hellscape or something at least, moving in the right direction for sure. But I'll be in Sacramento, California at the Crest Theater on Friday, January 10th. Napa, California at the Uptown Theater on Saturday, January 11th. I'm in Fort Collins, Colorado at Lincoln Center Performance Hall on Friday, January 17th. Boulder, Colorado at the Boulder Theater on Saturday, January 18th, Santa Barbara, California at the Lobero Theater on Thursday, January 30th, San Luis Obispo, California at the Fremont Center on Friday, January 31st, and Monterey, California at the Golden State Theater on Saturday, February 1st. So you can go to WTFpod.com/tour for all of my dates and links for upcoming shows. And look, folks, if you worry about the safety of your home or family, now is the best time of year to get home security. And right now, Simply Safe is giving exclusive early access to its Black Friday sale for WTF listeners. We always tell you to trust Simply Safe in keeping your home and family secure. Now trust us to get you the best deal possible on home security. But before I get to that deal, let me remind you that Simply Safe stops intruders before they break into your home. Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection changes the game by preventing crime before it even happens. If someone's lurking around or acting suspiciously, the Simply Safe agents see them in real time, talk to them directly, set off your spotlights, and even call the police before they've had a chance to break in. So here's that Simply Safe Black Friday sale that they're giving you early access to, and I told you it's a big one. This week only, you can take 60% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan, their best offer of the year. Head to simplysafe.com/WTF to claim your discount and make sure your home is safe this season. Don't wait. This offer won't last for long. Keep your home, your family, and your peace of mind protected with Simply Safe. There's no safe like Simply Safe. I don't know. I guess I'll talk to you Thursday about whatever the hell happened or what is still happening or what might be happening for the rest of our lives. Okay, look, Mo Mandel has got a new comedy special called Mo Mandel Trying to Make It. It's available on YouTube. I like this guy. We've never had this long a conversation. I didn't really know him going in, and I'd assumed a lot of things that were not even true. You know, you think you know a guy, but this turned out to be a fun and interesting conversation. This is me and Mo Mandel. So, all right, Mo, what do we have a problem? We don't have a problem.
Do me and you have a problem?
No problems.
I mean, I'm here, so I guess we don't. I'm surprised to be here. I didn't think I would be.
Why
I don't know. I talked to you in the hallway of the Comedy Store, you know, for years, but it never goes anywhere. It's fast. You're nice, but you don't like. Well, you don't ever like. Well, I don't know.
It was funny. Here's my impressions of you.
Oh
no. I mean, like I was like, well, he's sort of a burly Jew. That guy,
right?
You know, he's kind of got the. He's like I break Jews into. You know, there's the professor, kind of a symphony composer Jew, and then there are the sort of like the workers, like the.
I'm a worker Jew.
Yes,
you're like calling me like a from the Pale. Like my wife's
right,
my wife's grandmother's from Austria.
Yeah.
She was, and my wife said she would always look down on like pale Jews like myself from like the Eastern European.
The German Jews were the worst.
Yeah.
No, you're like a James Caan Jew.
It's so funny you say that because I've always heard I look like James Caan from The Godfather.
Yeah.
And then I auditioned to play James Caan
in that movie.
I didn't get it, so I was like,
yeah.
Well, I guess you still have to be a good actor.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like, I knew you were loud, and I knew that you know you definitely took hold of the stage. And I think when I met you, it was one of those things where I think you had been cast in that Jay Moore show. Was that it with Al Madrigal? What was the show with Al Madrigal?
Hank Azaria.
Hank Azaria.
I know exactly the moment you're going to reflect. I'm so glad you brought this up because I've been angry at Al for this moment for a long time.
What moment was that?
Please go on because I know what you're going to say.
No, I just thought, like, I've been in this business long enough to where I got the sense where, you know, when you got that, there was part of you that's sort of like, I'm in. I'm done. I'm doing it. This is it. And then I just watched it go away, and I'm like, well, he's got to do comedy now.
Oh, man.
What was the Al moment?
So one time, I got to also tell you, though, the first time I ever heard of you.
Yeah.
But I do remember seeing you at Moshe Kasher's house. And Al introduced me to you as, here's Mo Mandel. He's from San Francisco. He's got a lot of stuff in the industry right away, and everyone up there is, like, resentful about it. And I was like... Why would you introduce me like that? First of all, that's not how I've seen myself. I feel like I've done like a million open mics. I was like a bartender or a barista.
Wow, you just took a shot at you right in front of me.
Yeah,
huh?
right in front of you. And I was like, thanks, Al. Mark will hate me forever now because who likes that guy? I mean, it was just like, that's not, but it's also funny how like I didn't start comedy with Al, so he wasn't even around.
You were a little after him?
I was, after him. So it was like, it's not like he was like, so I don't know. When he said that, I was like, oh,
but that's such a San Francisco thing, dude.
Yeah.
Because when I got to San Francisco in fucking 93, 94, for some reason, me and Patton Oswalt and Blaine Capatch all showed up within weeks of each other.
Yeah.
And by that time, the scene had been decimated because everyone moved to LA. And, there was the people that were left up there were very specific. Like Carlos Alzaraki, Johnny Steele, Proops was still around. But all the big hitters had gone away. And it kind of, I guess it went through a renaissance. I don't know. But when I got there, it was always sort of like, that's a comedy city. I was there when the Holy City Zoo was on its last legs.
That's why I moved there, is because I was a creative writing major in college.
Where?
UC Santa Barbara, a little teeny college within a college called College of Creative Studies.
Okay.
And
is that all you could get into?
I barely got it. I mean, yes, you're right.
So
I was there, and I decided I wanted to go into stand-up. I hit up Arj Barker.
Yeah, Arj, yeah.
Who I had seen doing the marijuana logs in Santa Barbara. That's the only reason I ever heard of him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's right. They had a thing. It was him and Tony Kameen.
And Doug Benson.
And Benson. That was a big deal for a while.
Yeah. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was right when the vagina monologue was like a thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I asked Arj, I hit him up. I was like, where should I move? I want to go into stand-up. And he's like, San Francisco, that's the place to start.
Yeah. And that was it?
Well, I took a detour to England for 6 months, but yeah.
After college?
Yeah, I had a girlfriend. This is complicated, but I had a girlfriend from the Bahamas that I met while doing a study abroad in England.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to marry her, so I moved back to England, lived in a dorm room with her illegally while she was finishing school, and I started doing open mics in London.
In London?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, my first one I did at the Comedy Store in London, and it was the
place.
Gong Show.
It's hard.
Yeah. So the Gong Show is like you have to go up, and they gong you off if they don't want you on there.
Yeah.
So I go up there. This is right when America's bringing England to the Iraq War.
Yeah.
And I took the bus up from Brighton or the train. It took me the whole thing to go up there because I was like an hour away. And I go, hey, what's up, guy? Gong. They heard my accent. They just bonged me off.
That was it. Over.
And then I did it to like a Scottish guy. So I'm like, all right.
And that was it?
And then I did other ones too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my
That's a hard audience, though.
Oh, yeah, that was not easy.
For Americans and just in general. Very vocal.
Very vocal. And I lied about having a career in America to get on stage at a real club before I left.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like somehow the chutzpah and just the adrenaline, I got through it. But it was like really cool. Everybody was smoking cigarettes in the clubs at that time.
Sure.
You know?
But like, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the woods in a little place called Boonville, California.
Boonville?
It's in Mendocino County.
Oh, my God. Like, what is that near? What's the city?
It's about 2.5 hours north of San Francisco. No Jews.
Basically no Jews. No body.
Not a lot of bodies, a lot of pot fields. It was just like
it's so pretty up there, man. I used to, when I lived in San Francisco, to drive up to Point Reyes.
Oh yeah, so I'm not. Well, yeah, I'm farther than that, but yeah.
No, I get it, but like, why up there?
So my parents are both from New York City. My dad's from the Bronx. My mom's from Brooklyn, and
both Jews.
Both Jews. I always heard you on one of your episodes talking about your percentage of Ashkenazi.
Oh yeah, high.
Mine's real high.
Yeah, mine's like 99.
Yeah, I'm like 97, 98.
I did that show, Finding Your Roots.
Oh, you did?
And they were able to track back my dad's line into Belarus, into Pale Settlement, further back than they'd ever tracked a Jew.
Wow.
Yeah, it tracked it back to like a Jewish tailor with, a Hebrew name.
Okay, so I got to tell you this story with 23andMe and Jewish percentages. One time we went to this free Yom Kippur service with my wife. And
where's this?
It was at the Laugh Factory.
Okay.
You know how the Laugh Factory do like free Rosh Hashanah?
I never go in there, yeah.
So anyway, this rabbi, this is a long time ago, so I don't know, maybe he's gotten
You're trying to make connections.
Maybe he's got better. No, I didn't want to pay for services. Like where I grew up, it was like in the woods. Like, they were just lucky if any Jewish people from any county showed up. You have to pay to go there.
Yeah.
We didn't even have a synagogue.
Yeah.
So for a while. Anyway, so we were watching this rabbi. He was so bad, and he was talking about, he was trying to tell a story about how Jewish perseverance.
Yeah.
And he was like, and I was talking to a woman, and she said, I'm 100% Jewish. Everyone in my family has married a Jew, through all the generations.
Yeah.
And I asked her, so the rabbi says, I said, what percentage are you Jewish? And she said, I looked at my thing, 98%. And he goes, and I had to explain to this woman that if everyone's married Jews and you're 98% Jewish, someone was raped.
Yeah.
And the crowd just got silent, like, what? What? And he just it was like I don't know what he thought was the response. It just bombed. And then he's like, but but Jews persevere, and that's the point of that. Like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, I had hoped when I did the 23andMe that there was an outside chance that the Vikings had come down into Poland, and at some point injected a little bit of Viking DNA into me, but no, it didn't pan out.
Yeah, they're like, no,
like, no, I did the 23andMe, and then I was reconfirmed on the Finding Your Roots. It's just all Ashkenaz, which I'm happy about.
I mean, my wife's half Jewish. I mean, she is, her dad converted or whatever. So
her mom's Jewish.
Her mom's Jewish.
She's Jewish.
Way too Jewish. Her mom.
She's Jewish. I tell a story about that Orthodox supply store next to Canner's, like right across from Canner's on the same side of the street. It's just all whatever, that stuff, Hasidic supplies. And I walked in there because there was a lot going on. It was late at night, and it was before one of the holidays that regular Jews don't know about. You needed some sort of ritual equipment, but it was just boom. It was hopping in there, and I'm like, I want to go in there and see what's going on. And I walk in, there's a guy just right out of Fiddler, just like gray payas, the head, little beard, he's short, he's hunched over, and I'm like, what do you got going on in this place? And he looks at me and goes, you Jewish? You Jewish? I'm like, yes, I am. Okay. I'm like, wow, full phlegm.
If you're like that phlegm, you're at least 99% Ashkenaz.
Jewish. But you seem to have fared pretty well. I think we did all right with our looks.
It's
for 99% Ashkenaz.
Yeah, it's a lot of. I mean, it's funny you say that though about that area in particular of the Cancers, because my cousin is a comedian. Sue Kalinsky is my cousin.
I know Sue forever.
Yeah, and she used to have. She's great.
a cousin?
Yeah, second cousin.
I go back to New York with her. She's my generation.
Yeah.
I mean, she was. I just saw her. I think I probably saw her at Silver Friedman's funeral. Bud's wife, ex-wife.
Right.
But I hadn't seen her in years. Yeah, she was funny.
Oh yeah, she used to have this joke about that area. She's like, it's weird because it's like it's all Hasidic Jewish places, and then it's punk rock. So there's like tattoo parlors.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's ever an intersection where like a guy walks in, hey, can you turn this 9 into a smile?
An old guy. That's pretty dark. I like it.
Yeah, very good.
I like it. So you're up there in the woods.
Yeah.
Wait, so you're going to tell me that Kalinsky's knowing that? I know how Jewish families work. Where you get to you have a cousin.
Yeah, no, that's how it was. We would grow up.
A cousin who was a comedian in New York.
Right.
You had that?
Yeah. We would watch her on, they have the old
Caroline's Comedy Hour.
Yeah, we didn't have cable or anything, so we would always we'd have 2 channels that we can get in the woods, and so we would watch a VHS and here's your cousin on the Bob Hope special.
Yeah, but that must have planted a seed.
Yeah, for sure. It was really cool. I mean, I always wanted to be a writer. I really wanted to be like Raymond Carver or Hemingway.
That's why you did the what'd you write? You went to writing school.
Yeah. I wrote a novel.
You wrote a novel?
Yeah.
When did you do that?
I didn't quite finish it, but it was in college.
Still not finished?
No, and I went back and read it, and I was so obsessed with the beat writers.
Yeah, of course.
Free association. Not only do I not quite understand the emotion that I had at 20 years old.
Yeah.
I don't understand what I'm even saying half the time. It's like these long, flowing sentences and passionate things. And it's all this sexuality and just emotions I don't even feel. It's so weird. And I'm just like, God, I kind of miss that guy, but I'm really glad I'm not that guy.
But how much of a beatnik freak were you? Because I was pretty dug in, with those guys.
I was dug in.
I went to Kerouac's grave.
When
I was in college up in Lowell, left some booze. But I was I was a big kind of nerd for.
Oh, yeah. I'm not like that. I don't ever get into culture like that, where I would go visit his grave or whatever.
Yeah, I don't usually either, but I was dug in with those guys.
Oh, I love them. And I had this teacher in college who said he was coming up at a publishing house, and he remembers Kerouac coming in right towards the end, drunk with a crate of old manuscripts trying to sell them.
Oh, where? In Boston?
In New York or Boston. He was just like, does anyone? I got this one. He was just really
got very sad.
I mean, he died so young. It's crazy.
But he drank himself to death. He turned on his legacy in a way. He became very closed-minded. He became very sort of that town, Lowell, in the bad way.
Yeah.
And his last wife, Stella, I think her name was maybe, had a brother, George, who ended up with the estate. And I kind of knew It was like a nephew. I kind of knew the guy who ended up with the estate, a young guy, to try to keep getting juice out of it, you know. But yeah, but like, what were you reading? Like, how'd you get turned on to that?
I don't know. I just like, On the Road, and then I read like, just like, all of his books, really.
Were you into all of them? Ferlinghetti, Ginsberg, Burroughs?
I was really...
Did you go the whole 9 yards?
Burroughs, Neil Cassidy, of course. Me and my friend were just like, we just thought he was the coolest guy ever.
Yeah.
And then I read a bunch of Kerouac's. They're all nowhere near as good as On the Road. That's the problem. Like, there's a big, steep drop-off, I think.
I think some people think that, that straight ahead novel, I think it was called The Town and the Country, or was kind of a great novel. But it was different. It wasn't as stylized. I think some people, I don't know, Dharma Bums is pretty good.
Dharma Bums is good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just like, this is a long time ago. I was obsessed with him. I read a lot of Japanese fiction, actually. I got turned on to this Japanese fiction professor in college, and he got me into like all these great writers in Japanese fiction. It's so weird because I don't read ever anymore.
But so you're growing up in the woods, but like, why are your parents in the woods?
So they met in San Francisco. Well, no, they met at SUNY Buffalo. My dad was in medical school. He met my mom there, and they moved out to San Francisco in the summer of love. Hippy dippy stuff. Lived in a commune dome in the Oakland Hills.
So they met in the late 60s.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
or the mid to late 60s, and everything was changing.
Yeah,
and so they got on board.
They got on board big time,
and they moved to the heart of it.
The heart of it.
They
went to Altamont. They've been it.
They went to Altamont.
They were at Altamont on acid.
That must have been horrendous.
Horrifying.
Yeah. I've read books on it, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. That movie, right? So
Give Me Shelter.
Yeah. So exactly. I read Joel Selvin's book on Altamont, and it's mind blowing that more horrible things didn't happen. It was a show.
It is actually. It's a good point. Only one person died, and you.
Well, there were some other ones, but it wasn't the guy who got stabbed by the Angels. But there's a couple other like connected deaths from car issues and whatever. But yeah, there was no bathrooms. They had not prepared for that many people. There was no place to park.
It was like the Fire Festival on steroids.
Totally, and the stage was like 2 feet high. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
The whole thing. You got to read that book. What'd your parents say about it?
My dad was just like, it was horrifying. They took acid and they were there, and it was just.
Was it the bad acid? Or you don't know?
I didn't really get into it too much. I don't know. They just said it was scary.
I highly recommend that Joel Selvin book.
Check that out.
He did his homework, and really kind of built up how it happened. And a lot of it had to do with Jagger and Bill Graham not getting on board, and the whole thing was nuts. All right, so they're out here living in a dome?
Yeah, they lived in a dome with a bunch of other families. Like, it was called Seiler Place.
Was it a cult?
Not a cult. They were just like
commune?
Real commune, yeah.
Okay.
Passing babies around to be breastfed by the various moms.
Oh.
All that deal. I missed out on that good stuff. I wasn't born. My brother got a little of that.
Oh, yeah. How old's your brother?
He's 2 years older than me.
Oh, all right.
So he got that good communal
How old are you?
All right, early 40s.
What are you, a lady?
I am a lady. I'm noticing my grays already. It's freaking me out, dude.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What are you worried about?
Because my dad's 80, and he has a great big afro.
Well, you're not going to lose hair.
I don't think I'm going to lose hair, thank God, hopefully.
No, you have that hairline.
But he didn't go
never-ending hairline.
He didn't go great till he was like 70. How are you like?
You get a few. What are you going to do? Like, I'm 60, and it's not total. It's coming, but it's not
another
total.
reason I thought you didn't like me?
Why?
Because one time, I post pictures of my dad, and everyone says, "Oh, your dad looks like Marc Maron."
Yeah.
And I told you that one time. I was like, he's probably like, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah. No.
Thanks for saying I look like an old Jew. You
believe me, no one's noticing that more than me. Like, I watched they're doing a doc on me, and I'm watching this footage. I'm like, I got to do something with my hair, too, because I just look like a crazy old Jew with that long-ass hair with the grays, and I'm like, what am I doing?
I love it. I love my hair now. It took me a long time to love it.
Are you coloring it already?
No, not coloring it, but I just hated the curl and the wildness of it when I was younger, and now I love it.
The full Jew-fro?
Yeah.
All right, so they're in a commune. Your dad's practicing medicine?
He's a psychiatrist.
Oh, Jesus. All right. So he's a psychiatrist who's coming up during that era.
Yeah, he studied real,
Gestalt, R.D. Lang.
He's like, what was the guy he was in? This guy who built like these boxes that you would go into, like
Skinner?
Orgon boxes, I think.
Oh, Orgon boxes. Wilhelm Reich.
Wilhelm Reich. That was his guy.
That was his guy.
That was his guy, yeah.
Wilhelm Reich was trying to free the orgasm.
Yeah. Oh, was that it?
He was sort of
my dad cleaned it up when he explained it to me.
He was the core of the idea that Wilhelm Reich had. He did write. He became kind of a lunatic. Like he created the orgone box and he discovered orgone energy. But at some point he ended up on the East Coast on with a compound and a school and this thing called the Cloudbuster. He was pretty sure he could change the weather with the orgone thing. I would say bipolar, but he was kind of this renegade protege of Freud's, who his idea was like, well, if Freud's right and all of neurotic behavior comes from sexual repression, let's just unleash it. Just start. Everybody should be, and just like, free the free the dick, free the pussy, and no one will be neurotic anymore.
This is not how my dad explained his thesis to me. And you're really opening my eyes up to things I've learned about my parents since I've gotten older, that this makes a lot of sense. My dad was like, it's a box.
Yeah. Well, the box is different. That, Burroughs around with the box, and, it's a steel box, that supposedly collects orgone. But he did write a book that was straight up psychology called The Mass Psychology of Fascism, I think, that still holds. It's still read in schools and stuff. But interesting guy.
It sounds more fun to go to therapy when people were thinking of this kind of stuff. Because I am so bored of therapy. I don't go to therapy because I feel like it's so boring now. It's all cognitive behavioral crap. But if somebody was going to go into my childhood dreams, that sounds at least interesting, even if it's not true.
Well, I think that style. Well, I think that by and large, therapy is kind of a racket, and you kind of. Oh, I think the guy's name was L.D. Lang. I didn't mean R.D. Lang is R.D. Lang. But anyway,
also a good psychologist.
Yeah, the best. But I think there was a time where they were all trying to work an angle out, between Jung and Freud and figure out how to apply this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the hippies went with Jung.
My mom loves Jung, and she got a master's in that psychology. So it was like, I have these two different sides of therapy from parents growing up.
Yeah.
My dad, despite all this Orgone box talk, is a pretty by-the-book kind of psychiatrist, And my mom is like, maybe we need to get him a dance therapist. Maybe he needs to be on some sort of homeopathic clown remedy.
That stuff, I think even today, because I think about this a lot, philosophy, if it's not, based in numbers, and theology and metaphysics and also psychology, it's like, there's all these points of view, there's all these systems, and eventually, if you need it, you can pick one that works, but it doesn't mean it's science.
Yeah. I've given up on self-improvement. I don't try to do any of it. I have. I'm just like, I realize I've peaked. Maybe I've peaked with stand-up, and maybe I've peaked with self-improvement, but I'm like, with stand-up, you're like, I'm just writing the same joke over and over. I feel like the same with self-improvement. I'm like, it is what it is. I've been the same since I was a kid. I have my same insecurities, which are numerous, but they're not going away.
What do your parents think of that? Okay, before we go on, I just wanted to make sure The Function of the Orgasm is a Reich book.
Okay.
Then there's The Sexual Revolution, also a Reich book. Sexuality and Anxiety, Reich book.
That should be I should have named my special that. Sexuality and Anxiety. That's a perfect name.
Yeah, and The Function of the Orgasm. Did I say that already? I did.
I don't know.
The guy was all about coming.
Well, I found out later in life that my parents had an open marriage for a while when we were kids, so this all adds up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One of my dad's friends, they had a falling out, and for some reason, out of spite, he told my brother that my parents used to be into that stuff.
Swinging.
I don't really know why it would bum me. I don't know. Apparently, who was really into it? I shouldn't talk out of school, but she babysat me one time at the old commune. Winona Ryder babysat me.
Well, her dad was part of it.
Her parents were really into it. They were big MDMA swingers.
Oh, yeah.
I've always wanted to meet her so I could be like, hey, babysat me.
Yeah, I don't know how, she came up in that. Yeah, I know her dad was kind of, was he a psychiatrist too or a psychologist?
I don't know, they were big swingers.
I think he was a writer, Horowitz. I think is her real name.
Right.
But so how do you come upon this idea? All right, so let's track back. So they're on the commune.
Yeah.
And then they're like, get in the car, honey, bring the one kid. We're going upstate.
They went to live in a place called Rainbow. It was a commune up in Mendocino County. They used to go up there in the summers, and they love this place, Rainbow.
So they were full-on smart hippies.
Totally.
Yeah,
100%. Which is funny because people always think of me as this kind of like whatever. I don't think no one knows that. I don't show that side of my personality. I don't know. It doesn't really translate. But people think I'm like a guy from like, hey, probably up in New Jersey or something like that. But like I grew up.
Well,
like,
you have a momentum to you.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of a loud, straightforward guy. And, somehow or another, whether it was in reaction to
I don't know what it was.
Because it's sort of like, it's like children of alcoholics. Either they're going to grow up drunks or they're going to grow up hating drunks.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? You might have just pushed back on it.
I guess, but I know it bothers me because like when I was in creative writing school, I remember my guidance counselor at the end. She read one of my stories that she really liked. She goes, yeah, I just never really felt like you belonged here.
Really?
I was like, yeah, why? Because I'm not like wearing goth makeup. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry how I present.
Yeah.
Like, I don't present like a weird artist, but that's how I feel inside.
Yeah, would Hemingway belong here?
Yeah, I know. And then she's like, but I read your story. You're really good. I'm like, thanks for taking 4 years to do that. I'm just graduated. What are we talking about? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, people judge people, but all right. So they moved to Rainbow.
So that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to move to Rainbow.
Yeah,
it didn't work out. I don't know if there was no vacancies. So they bought like 90 acres of just like perpetually shady, unusable property in the mountains, and they were going to build a commune of their own with their friends.
Really?
Yeah, that was a thing. So,
and they're in their late 20s?
No, they had me. My mom had me when she was 35. So
they're grown people.
Grown people
starting communes. Yeah,
grown communes. They never got off the ground.
Yeah,
we did live in a teepee, early cultural appropriation, for a whole summer, like a real teepee. Like with like sticks and stuff.
Oh my God,
it was wild.
Are they doing drugs?
I think the plan was to grow a little pot. I'm sure. Yeah, they were. I mean, I'm sure they were. I mean, they.
But they were responsible.
Yeah, they had some friends who were big time pot dealers, and they went to jail for a little while. I mean, 6 months here and there. You know.
Well, that's that part of the country.
Yeah,
right?
It was definitely like when I grew up, a lot of.
That's where you can grow in the shade a little bit. I think, like you can hide it.
Yeah, they somehow. I guess my dad freaked out about like he'd lose his practice. So, because my aunt says she remembers being over one time. My dad went down and cut down all the pot plants in our garden.
Yeah.
After like an argument with my mom, and she was really pissed that he had cut down the pot plants.
Oh my God, are they both alive still?
Yeah. Yeah, and they still live in the house that I was physically born in.
Oh, so they did that too.
Home birth, no doctor.
Uh-huh.
Insane. I cannot imagine.
Now, but your dad has a practice? Like he's worried about losing his practice in Rainbow or wherever it is?
He practices in a town called Ukiah, which is like...
Oh, that's a bigger town, yeah.
30,000 people. I have a Walmart, so we're doing good.
But he goes to work every day. He's got an office in Ukiah.
Yeah.
He's got patients.
Yeah. There's like 3 psychiatrists there, maybe 3 or 4.
Is he still doing it?
He still works like minimally. He does like these like QMEs, which I think if like insurance companies get like sued for like he does that kind of stuff. He still sees a couple patients, but yeah,
But he's a medical doctor.
Yeah.
So he went the full route.
Yeah.
He's not a psychologist, so he can prescribe medicine.
He can prescribe medicine, and my mom later on in life got a master's degree from a place called the Institute of Imaginal Studies. And
Imaginal?
And no, it did. I don't think it's any longer around.
Yeah.
But one of those kind of places.
Was it ever?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I know she left the house every week, so I don't know where she went. Maybe it was all imagination. That's a very good question. She'll have to answer that. I don't know that's a clear answer to that though.
So she got that degree, and she's a therapist as well.
For years and years and years, she taught a class. She might still do it called Authentic Movement, which is like a dance kind of class where you channel your inner emotions through like kind of like trance dance. And so she does that in body work. So very different sides of the spectrum. In fact, I saw a pilot when I first got here. It was kind of about this as being like, because I was a really badly tempered kid who had a lot of problems when I was a kid. And it was like my mom would be like, let's do meditation and let's do this. And my dad was like, we should put him on Ritalin because they're going to put him in special ed, which they try to do in school. And I guess ultimately my dad lost out. So in the pilot, the father is like, my kid needs help. I'm going to lose patience if this kid, he's like, people in the community are going to start judging me. So he starts slipping Ritalin into his kid's food.
Yeah.
And it works so well that he starts then putting stuff into his wife's food.
Yeah.
And then because there was, and that was the first thing I wrote, really.
That was, you wrote that?
Yeah, I sold that.
Oh, that's funny, man, because did it pan out that the wife thought that it was working what she was doing and she didn't know about the Ritalin?
Yeah. Well, no, but I'm gonna say yeah because that's a good idea. if FX calls and said, "Hey, 10 years ago when we passed on that pilot, we want to make season 2," I'm like, I got the perfect.
Yeah, I figured it out, man. It's got to be that she thinks what she's doing is working, and only he knows.
I told you the Oregon box. Was the
yeah,
solution.
Exactly. So, so that was something you wrote about your childhood?
Yeah, it was called Barry Mandelbaum, Psychiatrist.
Oh, they ended up with a shrink show, or Apple did. I pitched sort of a social work show to FX that they bought and never made. But that's all water under the bridge. That's showbiz. But so you just have the one older brother?
Yeah.
And you're like...
He's very straight and narrow, normal, successful, partner in a law firm. Growing up with somebody like that is wonderful because he's a great brother. But it's unbearable when you're a younger sibling.
Yeah.
You just cannot live up to this perfect person.
Yeah. So he somehow managed, huh?
Ugh.
And you were just bouncing off the walls?
Just out of control.
Really?
Yeah.
Like criminal?
Not criminal. Like young problems.
Yeah.
Like young kid. Like I remember reading this essay by David Sedaris about what he had OCD as a kid. I'm like, wow. That is me.
Oh, really?
I had this crazy 55-point process I would have to do to go to bed.
Really?
It was insane.
55.
I mean, I don't know if it was number? I don't know if it was actually.
I would like to.
It was probably less than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more than that.
Yeah.
So I would have to go up to my parents' balcony. I would have to ring the bell. I was probably like 9 or something. Yeah. Ring their wind chime, kiss a little knot on the wood, then kiss another knot, then kiss another knot, kiss another knot, look out, do something, look in the mirror, look in this mirror. Then I had I lived in a loft when I was a little kid, so I guess I was young. I was probably about 8.
Was it an A-frame?
My parents originally bought an old logger's kitchen.
Yeah.
And then they remodeled it when I was like second grade.
And they still live there?
Still live there, yeah.
Okay, so
So I'd run to the loft, and I would have to wind my body through the slats of the ladder to get up into my bed.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all this just
you had to do it
so much. Oh, it was powerful. And I had to do this stuff till college, and still a little bit now.
What, the OCD stuff?
Yeah, it's since I've become a father, it's really flared back up. My wife cannot.
Are you on medicine?
Yeah, a little bit.
And so
doesn't help.
Wait, well, how does it manifest with the kid?
I just she bumps. My wife's a doctor too.
Yeah.
So that is actually kind of bad because I expect her to be able to weigh in on every bump, everything that happens to the kid.
So you're nuts. You're worrying.
Thank you. That's the right way to put it. You should have been a psychiatrist. You're good. You really summed that up well.
So you're panicking about everything.
Oh, it's
my dad was a doctor and he panicked about everything. So you're lucky she doesn't panic. I was taken to the hospital more times by my doctor dad than should have been reasonable because with him it was always like leukemia. I had my appendix out by what turns out to be not a guy who should be doing that operation because we just moved somewhere. My dad.
It was like old timey Groupon.
Almost. It was like we just moved to New Mexico and he had met one doctor who the incision was incorrect. They took my appendix out and I think it was just gas. I don't even think I had appendicitis. But my dad panicked, and there I was in the hospital.
That's the complete opposite of my dad. In fact, we have a bit where my dad's solution for everything is you want to try to ice it? No matter what it is, ice might be the answer here. You just what kind of doctor are you?
But was there chaos?
No, my parents have a wonderful marriage. I mean, they're wonderful, wonderful people.
Yeah.
And I just had that's the thing. Sometimes I think what would my life have been like if I didn't have good parents? Because I needed a lot of help growing up. I had a lot of psychological problems, and I have great parents. So it's I have that
outside of the OCD.
Yeah, just real terrible phobias. Scared about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Hyperactivity.
Yeah.
Just it had I don't know. Yeah,
how did it settle down, or has it?
I mean, it certainly has. It's been a process for sure.
Yeah. Through therapy.
I don't even think I would give. I don't know. A little bit. I mean,
just getting old.
Just getting old
adapting.
and sort of slowly adapting.
All right. So how do you freak out with the kid?
Okay, this is embarrassing, but this is real. And I do this today.
Yeah.
I'll be to my wife, hey, do you think do you think when I slammed on the brakes in the car, did she hit the car seat or whatever?
Yeah.
And she'd be like, no. And I'm like, so you don't think she did? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, so you don't think she hit the car seat? And she's like, no. I'm like, but in my mind, I'm like, you got to ask the fourth time.
Yeah.
You got to get that fourth one in there. You got to get that fourth one in there. So then she's fine. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
But we're good on the
car seat.
I mean, it's brutal, dude. It's
and you
bad.
can't stop. Because in your mind, she hit her head, and then she's got a problem now, and it's your fault, and you go all the way?
Oh, I go all the way.
Oh, my God.
Well, I don't know what all the way is, but I go all the way to
Like she's, mentally challenged.
I just anything I can do, I just fire myself up. And it was in control. I was in control, and since I became a dad, it's really gotten bad again.
Well, yeah, because now, like, all the stuff that you had when you were a kid, it's just triggered because now you're thinking for her.
Like, can I just tell you we're in a live example of how my brain works? What you just said there, all the way mentally challenged, I'm like, do I need to get him to take that back, or did I curse? Did I curse my daughter? Thank you. Just 4 times, if you don't mind.
I take it back. I take it back. I take it back.
There you go. There's that 4th. And I'm like, not even kidding. Like, it makes me feel better that you did that. It truly does. Like, it makes me feel a little calmer.
Oh, why did someone tell us how to use God?
Is this God's fault?
No, I just mean, like, my brain's the same way, dude. And, like, yesterday, my girlfriend just refuses to wash her car. So, I took it. We went to the hand car wash, and I brought a sponge to, scour off any birds. And I got too abrasive a sponge, and I just put micro scratches all over her car. And she doesn't wash it anyways, and it's cleaner. But, like, I woke up at 3:30 this morning, I'm like, I got to get that buffed up. And there are bigger things I've up in my life, but if I can find one thing, like, just to be my spirituality, like, to ground me. The way I ground myself is always, through sort of panic. Like, if I can get to a place where I'm full of dread and anxiety, I'm like, all right, this is where I live.
Yeah. And for you, not to make you feel worse, but the worst part is you tried to improve the situation.
That's right.
And made it worse.
That's right. That's the big thing. That is the thing.
That hurts.
Yeah.
So it's like, why did you even get out of bed that day?
Or, I didn't have to get the sponge. And now, like, all I'm thinking about is, like, I think they can buff it out, so I got to get it buffed. And this car's it's a piece, but I got to get it to a buffer, like, soon. Yeah. And I got bigger things going on, dude. I got to do a movie, and I should be working on that. But I'm waking up thinking about the movie and thinking how, like, I'm going to suck. I don't know the guy I'm playing, and I'm the lead. And then, and then I just rose. I made the buffing a priority to ease the pressure from the other thing.
Okay, well, so you're a guy who clearly has put a lot of thought into self-improvement and therapy and stuff. Why are you still so up then?
Well, I
don't mean that offensively. I just mean, like, maybe does any of this stuff work? And that's why I've given up.
Well, I don't. But I don't think you really did give up, because the thing is that ultimately what happens, because I can break it down like I just did. Like, sir, I wasted a little time, but I knew it was ridiculous, and because of sobriety and because of knowing that my imagination left to its own devices is not going to do creative things that will help anybody. It's usually just reflexively does worst case scenarios and obsesses about. So I know those things. So that means that I have to disassemble it when it's happening. So in that way, it's helped. Like you said, I don't know that we can fully change our wiring. I think that if you have trauma or whatever, you can process that and maybe integrate that. And I think that's possible. But I think with those kind of things, you just have to have that other side of yourself that's like, you know what you're doing, right? Yeah, but I'm doing it. Yeah, but if you want to waste your time. So I think that dialogue, which is cognitive, I think cognitive therapy is helpful, because if you can start making different decisions, whether you can carve new neural pathways, I don't know, but you can at least, fight the good fight and not let it, destroy you and your relationships. So
you're saying that the best case scenario, or really what you can hope for, which it sounds like you've maybe achieved in a certain sense, is you have a little bit more perspective. You can step back and witness your own. Well, yeah, you just know that, like, all right, this is a thing that I do that's not, it's not serving anything. Right. Like my buddy Jerry in recovery, like, if I'd be spinning out, he'd say, like, what are you getting out of that? Because somebody had said that to him. And then that's a really interesting question. What are you getting out of what you're doing right now? And if you usually break that down, it's just like, oh, I'm enabling myself to beat the shit out of myself and, live in this fiction that is driving everyone around me crazy. Are you in a good place personally? No. Oh, I feel like I remember used to see you at Tiger Belly, and you seem like you're more like. Well, Jesus, I was going through divorces. Maybe that's what it was. I was always in relationships that made me crazy. Yeah, I'm in a better place for sure. I always think of you as a guy. I'm like, he's someone who really clearly has a mind that's not dissimilar to mine in sort of ways that I've tried to work on. But he seems like he's sort of like maybe when I hit my mid 50s. Yeah, no, mid 40s. You'll have enough of it. You'll exhaust something. You'll get someone so fed up, or a number of people so fed up that you'll have to be like,
Well, maybe it is me.
That's why I got sober. It was purely that. It was
Yeah?
just witnessing how much people hated being around me.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how long have you been sober?
10 years almost.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you do it like the old school way?
I did it the classic way, midway through seasons of a bar show on True TV.
Yeah.
I got sober. And so then I had to host a whole season of a bar show sober, secretly.
But did you go to meetings and stuff?
No. I went to one addiction class, and I just hate groups. I'm
Yeah.
such a loner. I should go.
But you don't do anything?
No.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So you're just vigilant.
Yeah, I was just I would binge drink, and I would just kind of drink too much, and it was like this perfect thing where I got out of a long relationship and then was on the road for 2 months straight hosting this bar show for True TV called Barmageddon.
Yeah.
So single for the first time in 5 years, in a bar every day.
Yeah.
With reality TV crews who are like pirates. I mean,
Yeah.
They just live like road comics.
Yeah.
And you could just go behind the bar and drink whenever you want. It was amazing. It was so much fun. It was hooking up with chicks. In the online dating I was using.
Yeah.
It was great. And then all of a sudden it was I cannot handle this.
Really?
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
Why did that happen? What tipped it?
Just a lot of the producers being like, whoa, dude. We're
Blackouts?
just all kinds of it just wasn't good. It was just wasn't good. And the producers being like, you're slurring. You're not supposed to be slurring while you're talking. Or you're hitting on this woman that you're talking to. What are you doing?
Slurring.
She owns the bar. Stop trying to hook up with her. I'm like, what?
This is the show, man.
So then I was I don't want them to fire me. And I was if I tell them I'm sober because they were just they were like, dude, you're just you're not listening to us, this. And then I was I don't want them to fire me. If I tell them I'm sober, they'd be like, all right, we should replace this guy. So I just showed up, and then I was like, oh yeah, but I don't drink anymore. What?
Yeah.
A huge part of the show is you trying the cocktails.
Yeah.
What do you do? I was like, yeah, we'll just have to fake that. They're like, well, we're already on the road. I guess we're
Yeah.
stuck on
And you
it.
faked it?
Oh, I faked it, yeah.
And it was an awkward second half of the season there?
It wasn't as fun. It certainly was not as fun.
And that was 10 years ago?
2015 or something. Yeah.
So what made you think you weren't going to be a writer?
No, I mean,
Did you get into comedy thinking you were going to be a writer?
I wanted to be a novel writer. That's what I really wanted to be in.
Yeah.
And then I got into comedy. The same reason I heard somebody else on this podcast talking about it, where they're like, yeah, I just got sick of nobody reading.
Yeah.
I can write something and say it. So yeah, I got into comedy really wanting to be a writer, and I've done some writing, and that's what I want to do. Really.
We sold the show and stuff.
Yeah, it's just it's hard to get into those writers' rooms, dude.
Well, they don't exist anymore.
They don't exist anymore, and there's I feel like every white guy who's a writer is kind of the same guy.
Yeah. No, for sure.
And they're not me.
Yeah.
And I somehow put them off, I think.
Well, they're getting pushed out too.
Good.
Yeah.
No, not good.
But where do you start doing comedy outside of England? You come back from England?
Yeah. So I moved to San Francisco and, got into that scene at a time when it was the big guys were Louis Katz, Jacob Siroff, Moshe
Wong.
Kasher. Ali came a couple years later. It's kind of weird, comedy's such a impossible thing to get into. But
So you saw me at the Punchline?
I never did. The first time I ever heard of your name, I think I texted you about this, but Shang Wang said to me one time, he goes, hey, you're kind of stealing a Marc Maron joke. I'm like, oh, I don't know who that is, so I don't think I am stealing it.
No, yeah.
It was a joke where
we're on the angry Ashkenaz spectrum.
Yeah, the joke was you ever just wake up and you're just the people are what's wrong? You're like, I don't know yet, I just got up.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't think one guy's allowed to have depressive mornings.
Well, I used to do a whole joke about, I think, I did that joke, version of it. I used to have a joke where I got this new self-help book. It's really working for me. It's a very simple system. You get a gun, and right when you wake up, you put one bullet in the chamber, spin it, click, and I'm like, yeah, carpe diem, But I did do a joke where the first words out of my mouth are "fuck," but who cares? Yeah. So that's how you knew me, because I was up there. I'd go up there. Moshe Kasher featured for me back in his kind of white hip hop phase.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and I found him very disconcerting. He had an energy that was pretty intense.
He was real yelly too.
Yelly and just untethered and a little,
Yeah.
Okay, so and Ali featured for me once.
I mean, it's so many great people came out of there. It's crazy. It's weird to think that Hassan Minhaj, Ali Wong, W.
And they
Kamau
were later,
Bell,
W. Kamau
we were
Bell,
all doing open mics together.
And before that, it was Dana Gould.
Yeah.
You had moved out there. DeGeneres, I think. The Punchline was a mecca. There were other people, Robin, Steve Kravitz.
I had an amazing Ron Williams moment. I was opening for Chappelle. When he first came back, he would always go to the Punchline and do these 9-hour shows.
Yeah. Did you stay for him?
I would stay for one time. I did. Then after that, I was like, I can't take it. Yeah. So I'm too tired. I don't know how you're still up.
Yeah.
So one night I opened for Chappelle, and midway through the show, he goes, "There's a young comic here who I think is really good."
Yeah.
Robin Williams. Robin Williams came out of the crowd.
Yeah.
He went on stage.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, Mos Def showed up, and I'm sitting at the back bar with Robin Williams, and Mos Def is like real hip hopped out. He's got a backpack, and I go to Robin. I'm like, "What is he like on his way to school or something?" And then before I know it, Rob's on stage. "Hello, son. Welcome to school. Can I take your backpack, please?" And he's doing the whole thing. And then he starts beatboxing while Mos Def and Chappelle battle rap. But it was... and
you were the colonel. You saw exactly how it happened.
What everybody has been talking about.
Yeah, it's like it became his thought very quickly.
Right.
But you were flattered, right? You didn't call. Did you call him out on it? So I was going to use that bit when I...
Hey, that was one of my best bits.
Was that one of the nights that Tom Waits was hanging around?
No, but it was an interesting night because Robin kind of bombed.
Yeah. Because
he tried to like do what Chappelle does, that casual thing.
Yeah.
And then I heard Robin talking to like Molly or someone in the hallway. He's like, "Yeah, it's like he's so conversational. I try to do it, but it's just not me." I'm like, it's so weird to think that you could be Robin Williams.
Yeah, and still be that insecure.
And still forget what makes you funny.
Well, he had some, trying times.
For sure.
It wasn't easy for Robin after a certain point, certainly stand up. So when you're starting out, is the competition still happening? And did you do that?
Yeah, I got third.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
What year?
2008.
Oh, yeah.
Or 2006.
I think I was second in 94.
Oh, you did? That's pretty good.
But
I actually just went up there and hosted one of the semifinals.
Is John Fox still running?
Still doing it, dude.
Wow. Did you do those Fox gigs?
Yeah. I do.
Oh, my God.
I still do them.
You still do them?
Dude, you got to make a living.
What's he got left? The Underground? And
he doesn't have that. He does like little theater shows every now and then. You
Yeah.
know? So that's cool. You get to do a theater. I don't get to do a lot of theaters. So it's like, if you can do like, 700 people, it's like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah, I'll do it.
So when you started coming up, how long have you been doing stand-up?
20 years. I got third in that competition within 3 years, which is crazy. I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
So somehow I just like...
It's not what it used to be.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're really good at this therapy stuff. You really have a knack for it.
I'm just trying to get you, I don't want you to get too big-headed.
I just told you I still do John Fox theater gigs.
And I'm still busting your
and
balls.
I'm still getting the same price. I just tried to get $100 more out of him.
Are you lucky you get paid?
He went. I mean, he's never not paid me, but literally, I'm like, "John, this is what you'd give me in like 2011." He's like, "Take it or leave it." I'm like, "I'll take it."
So you still go up there and do them?
Every now and then.
Yeah, but 20 years, dude.
Dude, get this. So in the semifinals, when I was in it, the Smothers Brothers were going to be the celebrity judge.
Yeah.
And this is in 2006. And they canceled. And they go, "Well, we got this food guy, Guy Fieri's going to be the guest judge."
Uh-huh.
And no one had ever heard of him.
Right.
And he showed up. He's like, blonde hair, leather jacket. I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then like 6 months later, you're like, oh he's
big.
He's doing pretty well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the competition was so huge. Like I was in San Francisco 93, 94, I guess. It sounds about right. And, it was still kind of like it started with 40 guys, 40 comics.
Yeah.
And they still had the shows at the Winery, at the Masonic. The finals were at the Masonic. But I know it's kind of, the venues have changed, and it's kind of become less impactful.
Most of them are not in San Francisco anymore. They're all over the place, but not really, not a lot of big venues in San Francisco.
And it was weird because I ran into a casting agent just the other night who was a big casting agent back in the day. And she had seen me at the finals because there was no internet. So they would come up and watch the semis and the finals to see new talent. And it didn't have that kind of juice. It kind of went downhill.
But
did they still have the Winery show?
I think they had a Winery show. Either way, I made $4,000, which was a huge deal
for third.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
And for me at that point, when I'm working at one point I was working at Pete's Coffee, a taqueria, and a bar all in the same block. I was like Bugs Bunny.
So I watched the part of the special that you sent me. And what's interesting about it is I've never heard somebody aggressively and proudly own the cuck disposition.
The cuck disposition? Is that what I was doing?
No, I'm kidding. Of being a kept man in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because I think that, you can't help, and I'm the same way. You can talk about your brain and you're going to talk about your life, but to sort of talk about my wife makes all the money. It's perfect. What, are you kidding me? I don't think I've ever really seen that before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I ended up married to a surgeon. It's
how
weird.
Did you end up married?
So I was doing a Harvey's in Portland,
which
was like the B Club.
Sure, I know.
It's gone out of business now. So I'm on stage, I'm like newly sober. I just got vocal cord surgery.
Like 10 years ago?
Yeah, I had to be silent for a month.
Why? Because you yelled your vocal cords out?
Basically, yeah. I yelled my vocal cords out. I had to get like what singers have to get.
Yeah.
So they had to like...
Did you learn how to use your voice properly?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I did, yeah, a little bit. In fact, I did my vocal exercise on the way down here. Anyway,
really? It's just from yelling. You're a yelly guy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little... That's why you notice how conversational I am now on stage. I'm sure you've noticed it. No, but I was louder,
No, you were always loud, and
Yeah.
I liked it. I was like, wow, this guy's like, it's like Mo's going to go up and yell.
Yeah. Good. Good. I'm glad that's what people would say in the Comedy Store hallway. You guys want to go watch Mo? He's going to yell? I'm good. I'll stay out here. I'll hear him. I'll hear him here, and I'll walk outside so I don't hear him.
I don't know if people were saying that. It's just what I was thinking.
No, I've definitely, for sure. And but even as a kid, I would have like a raspy, I would tighten my throat, So this is my first gig on the road. I'm doing a show in Portland.
Yeah.
The Beat Club.
Yeah.
Which I think is always funny with life, because like if I'd gotten what I wanted to do helium, maybe I would have never met my wife.
Right. Right.
Weird.
Yeah.
Luckily, my career was where it was at. And
yeah,
we got true love.
Believe me, when I started the podcast and I was looking down the barrel at a life of B-rooms, I was like, I gotta either die or figure something else out. Something's got to give.
I either got to die or I got to marry a urologist. Those are my options.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you're at Harvey's.
So I'm at Harvey's. I see her in the crowd because this woman she's with is like taking photos with like a telescopic lens. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like she's like basically in the front row. I'm just like, all right, stop doing that. And then I start talking to this woman, my wife Ashley, and I'm selling my merch, and she kind of just like leers around. Like if she was a guy and I was a woman, this would be like very creepy behavior. Just kind of like loiters around me.
Yeah,
I'm selling my T-shirts. Meet her. We go out for drinks. This woman is a lesbian who had just befriended my wife.
The camera.
Yeah. Aggressive lesbian.
Yeah.
Where she's like, we're all at drinks and she's showing like photos of women she's hooked up with. Like she's got like frat guy vibes.
Yeah.
And my wife had just moved to Portland, so they were like very new friends.
Yeah.
And I said to my wife, like, who became like, this woman's trying to hook up with you, right? Like, you do realize that's what's going on. She's like, no.
Yeah.
And she's like, I hooked up with this chick, I was like, what is going on? Like, it was so bro-y lesbian. I never experienced it. Anyway, so I asked my wife to come back with me to the Red Lion. She said, I'm not a floozy, which is funny because I've since found out she's had a ton of one-night stands. But that night, she threw the door down.
Because she liked you.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And then, of course... so we met there, and as soon as I left, that woman goes, he seems like a bad guy. I get a real bad vibe, and she kind of, they never hung out again.
Cock blocker,
yeah. So I was like, when you know, and I'd been single for about 4 years, like, dating, but no one, I didn't want to fall into a relationship. Right. Because I could do that. So when I met her, I was like, let's just do this. I'm going to fly up here every other weekend. You're going to fly down to LA. Like, let's not go more than 2 weeks before we see each other. Yeah. Did long distance. She's a dick doctor. She's a surgeon. She's working at Kaiser up there. And then we got engaged, and then COVID happened. I kind of ended up in Portland for basically 2 years. And then we moved back here, and, we've got a kid. We got another one on the way, and she just opened a dick doctor practice. So
wow. So the COVID sealed the deal.
Well, I was nervous. We're talking about neurosis. We had already been engaged, and we never lived together. So I'm like, maybe this is one of those things like, but I never lived with her, and then I didn't know she did this.
But you got engaged before you lived together.
Yeah, and then COVID happened, so I ended up living with her for 6 months before we got married. So I was like, all right, I know I can handle it. Yeah. I know she can handle it.
That's so funny. It's like it was perfect. It's like, no, she passed the test. Yeah. The Mo test.
I mean, I could easily see her being like, this guy is too much. You know what I mean? But
is that what happened in the other relationships?
I don't even know. It's like a mixture of
booze and yelling.
I don't think being sober. I don't think being drinking helped at all.
Were you yelling?
No, I don't yell. I don't have a bad temper with like that. No. I didn't grow up in a place where my father would ever yell at my mother. Yeah. Mostly the opposite. Yeah. So I don't have that instinct.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So that was a funny joke. But what's that joke in the special where what's the high five joke?
Oh, it's saying like, it is concerning when like my wife looks at dicks all day. Yeah. And then I have to show her mine. She's like, oh, better than my 3 o'clock. Yeah. But it's not like. But then I have to remind myself. No one goes to the doctor for a high five, and no one's like got a perfect dick. Like, hey, what do you think of this? Oh, pretty good.
Why are you here? What do you think of this?
High five. What are you here for? A high five? Yeah. And so, but it is weird. I mean, it's like during COVID. This is true. And I talk about the special, but like she was working at Kaiser up there. So and they shut down the Kaisers for a while. So I would hear her in her room on Zoom with people. I'm like, Are they showing her dick on Zoom? Is that what's going on in there? Like, we just got married. What's going on?
It's an interesting thing where the dick pic takes a different agenda.
Right.
Yeah. She was looking at dicks in there, right?
I'm sure she was on live streaming dicks.
Live streaming dicks.
Yeah.
Sick dicks.
Yeah, she could have just combined it with an OnlyFans. We could have a better house.
Yeah, the fetish of sick dicks.
Yeah. So now she just opened this medicine practice in Pasadena, and she's also
what does that mean?
She's just dysfunction in medicine. Like,
so it's the angle. Yeah,
that's the angle. Yeah.
STDs and boner drugs.
I don't think STDs. I think that more just like vaginal estrogen, all this kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
That, like, I hear pieces of on the phone while she does these meetings, and I don't really
how to make your life better.
How to make it better, less painful.
Right.
This is actually funny because our house has all these like dick books.
Yeah.
Like, and on the shelves, like, what to do when it hurts, male impotency, all these kind of things. And when we were moving, I noticed one of the movers was like big burly guy holding the couch. He looks over and he's like, what to do when your penis doesn't work?
Yeah.
I'm looking at him like, these aren't my books. These are my wife's books. She doesn't have a penis either, by the way. And he was like, okay, dude, whatever. I'll just move your couch for you.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's like that Bargatze joke about, when they come to fix the water cooler or the water heater. And the guy show up at the door, and he's like, "I don't know where it is. I think it's here. I don't know."
Oh, that's so real.
And they were trying to be progressive, and they go, "Well, is your husband home?" and he's like, "Yeah, she's out in the shed, I think," because his wife does all that stuff at the house.
That's so good. That's so good.
But do you find that? Do you get to spend more time with the kid, and is that the way it works? Or
yeah, I mean, she like I said, she started this practice now, so she's not like doing these crazy Kaiser gone all day.
Oh, yeah.
And I've stopped going on the road for a while because like it's just it's too unbearable to be away from your kid.
Yeah,
like
that's good.
Yeah,
you feel that could be the other way.
It could be the other way. Yeah, maybe as she gets older, it will be the other way. We'll see.
I don't know. How far along is she?
I take it back.
I take it back. He takes it back. He takes it back. He takes it back. He takes it back.
She's almost 2, and then we got a son on the way.
Wow, how pregnant is she?
She's due in January.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're doing the whole thing.
Doing the whole thing, dude. Yeah, but like it's weird though, because like I love stand up, but then I'm like, what if I had a great career?
Yeah.
Well, what would that mean?
Well,
I'd just be FaceTime my kid all the time? Like it's
well, you're fortunate it's not happening.
People listening like, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Yeah. So, guys, don't stream the special because, God forbid, I have to go on the road.
Do not make Mo more successful. Where is the special?
It's on 800 Pound Gorilla's YouTube channel. It's called Trying to Make It. Yeah, it's all about, because it took us like 2 years of fertility issues.
Oh, really? With the urologist?
Yeah.
And she was hip to that stuff.
She couldn't just solve it magically enough, yeah.
Huh.
So, actually, sometimes in life, problems equal good solutions.
Yeah.
And the WGA had just put fertility coverage into their benefits, and I was about to lose my WGA insurance because you have to make a certain amount of money every year.
Where'd you have it from?
I'd sold a screenplay in 2020, like an action movie, and
so you're writing.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah,
I just really want to be like.
Yeah,
I wish I like every day if I could just wake up, drink coffee, and be creative all day and sit in front of you. That would be my happy place.
Yeah,
and play with my kid at night, hang out with my wife.
That sounds like what you're doing, no?
Yeah. Yeah, and then get the next kid here, play with him. Like that's what I want to do. But I need to like, I don't know. I just need to get more. I don't know. It's good, but I need more of that.
So you had a few months on that insurance?
Yeah, so I had a few months on that insurance, and they were like, I was like, we can do IVF, because we had a miscarriage that was just like brutal.
Yeah.
I actually made a video of this that oddly enough where I'm doing stand-up about the miscarriage to just my wife in a comedy club in Helium.
Yeah.
It's like this weird, dark, short film of a stand-up set. And I was really worried to post it, and actually I had a lot of like really good like people who had miscarriages. Like,
it helped people.
Yeah, but for us it was like helpful to like do something.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have like 2 months left, and I'm like, we got to do this IVF. So we get going, and they just took so long. The place in Portland, like they were like to schedule the appointments to do this. It was so much just like inept, for whatever reason. It was, and then by the time they finally got around to giving us the thing right before she got pregnant. And then I lost the insurance.
Wow.
Yeah, worked out. Yeah.
I mean, that happens, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, there were no drugs. It was just, it's just one of your sperm finally found a way through.
One of those will finally figured out. It is a very weird thing, the trying to have kids thing, because it's like you spend your whole life terrified you're going to have kids.
Yeah.
And then you're like hit your 40s or whatever, and you're like, I should probably think about doing that.
If you want to do it, yeah. I never did it.
Yeah. You ever thought about it?
I like, for reasons that you seem to have overcome, and you don't give yourself enough credit. I just knew that because of the way I am emotionally and mentally, because of the way I was brought up, that the fact that I didn't think about it much, and when I did think about it, I really questioned my ability because of my brain and my emotional structure. It was never a priority to me, so why do it? That must be telling. Yeah, right. I wasn't just sort of like, I don't want kids. I'm like, I just don't think about it, so I'm not going to do it. I don't think about it either way. Yeah. I knew I didn't want them, but it was mostly out of my own fear of my mental disposition. So, I'm okay.
You mean out of a fear of the kind of father you would be?
I think I'd be okay, but I think it would be fleeting. Like, I don't think I'd be a bad father, but I'm just so anxious and so prone to panic that I didn't want to, really put myself through that or put a kid through that.
Yeah.
My brother ended up with 3 adopted kids. And, he did all right, but I was just afraid. And again, I don't have any regrets about it, so I'm not about it.
Yeah. I think unless you really, it's hard. It's hard. Like, unless you really want to do it, there's no reason to do it. But I'm in this thing now where I don't really know, because like, I love doing stand-up. I'm actually one of those guys who loves being on the road. Like, before I have
family,
now too,
yeah.
I enjoy it. I go to I feel like I live healthier. I go to the gym all the time.
Yeah, you learn how to do it.
Yeah, I write a lot.
It's nice and quiet.
You don't have to take your car in. You can't deal with buffering your girlfriend's car.
Yeah.
There's nothing you could do.
Yeah.
But so now I'm just like, well, what do I do? Because I love going on the road and doing stand-up, but I don't know how to. So what I guess my hope is that I'll keep doing stand-up around LA all the time, go on the road every now and then, get a huge career by the time my kids will go to college, and then I'll just like be on the road when I'm 60, I guess. Yeah,
but it sounds like you're chipping away at the writing, and despite whatever anyone thinks about AI, I mean, writing and doing original stuff is still, still happens.
By the way, I had a Maron AI experience 2 days ago. So you had texted me to come to the podcast, which I was stoked about. And then I looked at my junk email, and I had a thing like, hey, come do Marc
Maron's podcast. Yeah, what is that? Everyone's getting them.
Yeah, and a bunch of podcasts are like, some of them are like, come do Bobby Althoff's podcast. We'll pay you $4,000.
I got that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's real.
No, it's not.
Anyway, yours is hilarious because it's so clearly written by AI.
Yeah.
So I should have written it down. But this is how it describes your podcast. Come on Marc Maron's podcast to discuss life, some of the sadder parts of life, comedy, entertainment, and politics, including socialism.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So that's what AI has deduced your podcast about.
Is that what's generating those things?
It's got to be. The way this is written, it literally says politics, period, including socialism, period.
They're after me.
And I almost fell for it. I was like, oh, shit, do I got to...
How do you feel about socialism?
I'm a big fan.
Good talking to you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, this has been great.
There you go. That was Mo. You can watch Mo's special, Trying to Make It, on YouTube. Hang out for a minute. Folks, if you're looking for something to distract you over the next few days, we have thousands of hours of WTF episodes that you can listen to ad-free with a WTF Plus subscription. Go all the way back to the beginning and start with episode 1. It's exactly what I said. It's like listening to the history of Jewish show business. There's just a cadence that you can follow back right from him all the way back to probably Myron Cohen or whoever it was who performed for the pharaohs in Egypt to keep from being killed. But I think we should leave this part on the podcast. Whatever just happened. The abrupt stop, because I didn't know what was supposed to happen, although I did on some level know what was supposed to happen. And then the seamless segue into my next WTF story, which happens to revolve around Ralph Lauren.